Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Friday, November 21st, 2025, and there's no news of note that's going on today. The rest of the crypto market is really looking bad, but the Pi coin is actually looking pretty decent. But no new news there. However, there's a couple of things on the rumor mill that I do want to talk about. And another thing that you may not know about me, but I am a enthusiast of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or UAP, which was used to be known as UFOs. For a long time, the government has been denying any knowledge of these craft that people have been reporting by the thousands every year. And in 2017, the New York Times published an article, and the whole thing kind of blew open because they showed 3 different videos that were released by the Navy, of all places. And ever since then, there have been a series of whistleblowers from the government that have come out. There have been a couple of congressional hearings, actually at least 3. And there's been a bill that's been put out to try to go into law now 3 times that has failed. And they keep trying to protect whistleblowers and allow them to tell what they know. Well, the reason I mention all that is because today a documentary by the name of Age of Disclosure just came out, and it's produced by somebody you may know if you're into movies, Dan Farah, and that is now out on Amazon Prime Video, so you can check it there. It's also in some theaters, depending where you live. And this is about UFOs and what the government knows and what they're trying to do to get answers. So it's something I'm interested in. I thought I'd let you know that it's out there, especially for people who don't know much about this topic. This is a documentary that you may find very interesting. If you're already into it like me, there's not a lot of new information there, but for a lot of others, I think it may be very eye-opening for you. So let's take a look at the metrics. The circulating supply is 8.31 billion pi. And there were no user accounts migrated yesterday. However, migrations are happening now, and quite a lot of them, by the way. And I'll give you those numbers tomorrow. I'll probably put it in a post because today's not done yet, at least as far as the West Coast is concerned. There is 43.2 million pi in the Pi migration wallet. And like I said, Pi migrations are happening right now. Migrated unlocked rewards are at 3.28 billion pi, with 6.5 million pi unlocked since Wednesday and now free to be traded on the open markets. Looking at the rumor mill, we've got this X post here. Congratulations to all pioneers. At last we made it real, Pi for life. Okay. So what this says is OWDGC law, One World Digital Global Currency law, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States in Congress assembled, that this act cited as the One World Digital Global Currency law hereby establishes the Pi network as the sole co-capitally sole designated global digital currency. Congress finds that the Pi network possesses the necessary security global adoption to serve as the unified international monetary standard. This law grants de facto and de jure status to Pi as legal tender for all debts public and effectively immediately. All conflicting regulations are hereby repealed. Approved this day, November 21st, 2025. And look at that. You even got like this little wax seal here that has the Pi symbol. Okay. This is total and absolute garbage, by the way. If you saw this, I hope you realize that this was not real. First off, they would never make a sweeping financial move like this, not without, thousands of pages of documentation and probably years of deliberation and voting. So yeah, this is total garbage. Made to look official, of course. And I mean, there's some very subtle grammatical errors here that if you're paying attention, should give you a clue. But please, if you see this stuff, This means nothing. Okay. It's total garbage. It's fake hype. And I hope that people don't believe it. Also on the rumor mill, Pi Network strengthens EU compliance, activates QFS, and expands AI tech. Well, right off the bat, we know that that first statement is true because the MICA white paper went in, which even though it doesn't necessarily mean that the Pi Network is planning any moves, it does allow them to continue trading in the EU because they've satisfied compliance with the MICA or MICA regulations. So that's good. And then it activates QFS and expands AI tech. And we'll find out what QFS is. There's been some stuff going around in the news about the fact that quantum computers can break most cryptographic schemes and how some people are already envisioning a quantum proof blockchain. So this has something to do with that, but we'll find out more in just a second. Pi Network is accelerating its global expansion with a wave of developments that highlight its regulatory progress, AI vision, and ecosystem growth. Over the past week, the project reinforced its MICA compliance in the EU, activated a new QFS smart contract. They announced a major collaboration with OpenMind to push deeper into decentralized AI and robotics. These steps come as the network prepares for its long-awaited open mainnet phase. Okay, so there's a couple of questionable things here. We already know about OpenMind, which is true. We know about the MICA white paper, which is true. The QFS smart contract is likely not true because smart contracts aren't yet available on the blockchain. So I don't see how they could execute a smart contract when that feature is not even available. And then, of course, the long-awaited open mainnet. That is a source of contention because there are people who believe that we are not yet in open mainnet, we're in open network, and that there's a distinction. And there's some obvious points of distinction, but I'm just not sure. Okay. If for me, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a duck. Everything to me looks like we're in open mainnet. But I'll reserve judgment. People can believe what they want. I'm not making a grand statement either way. Pi deepens EU regulatory alignment. Pi Network's newly released MICA-compliant white paper continues to ripple through the community. The document outlines Pi's structure as a non-custodial, Layer 1 blockchain that meets the EU's strict digital asset standards. This progress strengthens hope for regulated exchange listings in Europe. And that's true. In order to be listed on a MICA-compliant exchange, the asset itself has to be MICA-compliant. So that's good. We're positioning ourselves in a good way for what's coming. It includes markets like Germany, Malta, and the broader EEA. I don't know what the EEA is. Forgive my ignorance. The white paper also highlights Pi's energy efficiency. It reveals an annual consumption of only 0.0024 terawatt hours, which is 99.9% lower than Bitcoin. Well, that's good, but we knew that. I mean, Pi Network is very lightweight as far as power consumption goes because it's not a proof of work protocol. This positions Pi as one of the most eco-friendly blockchains in operation. This aligns with international climate goals and improves its regulatory appeal. Community reactions have been upbeat. Trading volumes rose and price sentiment improved. Pioneers celebrated what many believe is Pi's clearest path yet to global legitimacy. Well, if that is responsible for the recent bump in the Pi's price, I do hope that people realize that this is not necessarily a harbinger of big moves in the near future. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that price to see how the sentiment changes. I'm hoping that maybe they realize that, the Pi Network is for real and we're making real moves to be legitimate worldwide, and that's enough to ease people's fears and push the price up a little. That's what I'm hoping. We'll have to see. Now, here we go with the QFS smart contract. Adding to the momentum, Pi Network Dex reported that the QFS smart contract is now active on the blockchain. The transaction processed on November 20th confirms that the system is running under ISO guided standards. Okay, so if you don't know Pi Network Dex on X, This account puts out a lot of false information about the Pi network, and this is no different. First of all, like I said, the Pi network does not run smart contracts. That is one of the new features that is being rolled out. Now it's not a new feature. It's always been available. It just hasn't been implemented in the Pi blockchain, and that's coming soon. So you can't have a smart contract that is active on a blockchain that doesn't support smart contracts. More importantly, and this is the obvious giveaway, take a look at this right here. Look at the fees. They're being paid in XLM. That tells you that even if this were real, this is on the Stellar blockchain, not the Pi network. Because if it was on the Stellar, if it was on the Pi network blockchain, that fee would be paid in Pi, because the Pi is a layer 1 blockchain, and the Pi coin is its currency, which means that all fees are paid in Pi. So right off the bat, this tells you that this is false. Don't believe it. It means nothing. Although details remain limited, the activation hints at Pi's progress toward a more automated financial infrastructure. For many users, the QFS update signals the start of features tied to compliance. The settlement and advanced transaction logic are designed for a maturing ecosystem. It also strengthens confidence that Pi is preparing its network architecture ahead of broader public accessibility. Well, that would be true if this were true, but it's not. So this is absolutely meaningless for the Pi network unless you happen to not know and believe the hype. So again, don't fall for false hype. There's plenty to be optimistic about. We don't need this. One of the most surprising updates came from Pi's new collaboration with OpenMind. This partnership aims to combine Pi Network's global node infrastructure with OpenMind's AI models to power robots, smart agents, and autonomous systems. The vision is simple. Replace corporate-controlled AI with a decentralized intelligence layer owned by users. Pi's vast community and lightweight consensus system make it a natural fit for distributed computation. The collaboration could enable AI-powered delivery robots, autonomous tools, and blockchain-based assistants capable of transacting directly with PiCoin. The Pi ecosystem is already preparing for this shift. Developers have access to new tutorials. This includes an updated guide on creating tokens and apps inside the Pi network. The growing number of Pi apps signals that more creators are building ahead of an expected increase in network liquidity. Beyond the technical updates, Pi utility continues to spread. Platforms such as Mobix allow pioneers to shop for physical goods from electronics to vehicles using Pi. The expansion of these services strengthens Pi's narrative as a peer-to-peer currency designed for real-world commerce. So again, I would be skeptical of that because Mobix doesn't show up anywhere on the Pi Network's KYB list. So it would be unlikely that they would be able to transact in real Pi. So it sounds like more false hype. Not much going on, but we got some stuff happening here on the rumor mill, and I thought I'd share it with you. And I hope some people don't like me posting stuff that's not true because they say, oh well, people are going to think it's true and believe it. My whole point in posting these is to point out that they're not true and hopefully spread the word so that people don't fall into traps or get their hopes up unnecessarily, because false hype does, I did a video on this a while back, false hype does just as much harm as FUD. And we've been victims of that in the past. Well, that's all I've got for today. If anything breaks, I'll be back here to let you know. There won't be any more updates for the weekend. I don't do updates on the weekend, but I didn't do one yesterday, and I wanted to send you off into the weekend with a little update on today. So, well, like I said, if anything breaks, I'll be sure to hop on here and let you know. But until then, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi Network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.